Maybe I could, building on a point that you just made, and maybe to shift gears a bit. When in your shop and in your strategy, how are you dealing with external data? And maybe if you could just give, so in the life sciences and med device industry, in North America in particular, there's a data source called IMS, which is almost like the Bible of commercial operations in the life sciences world. So there are a lot of IMS subscriptions that, there are multiple other third-party subscriptions that are important in the industry. What my observation has been, they're very important, but they're often not very well integrated, so that it may be the case you'll have some data subscription and you'll go out looking and you'll find actually you have 3 of them or 6 of them, and they're being duplicated in different places. So talk a little bit about, one of the things that I sort of, my talk track to executives is what we've seen in the last 10 years is more data in more places, and a kind of porousness of the boundary that defines the enterprise as it relates to data versus third-party data. So maybe, share a few thoughts on that and how that's part of your strategy.
Sure. So a lot of that type of data, as we come across it, such specifically like IMS, that we've also brought into our data warehouse, and other third-party data sets that we continue to bring in, specifically around, when we're looking at these data science type and advanced analytics use cases, the external data becomes more critical because that's an influencing factor, especially in our, industry with surgeons and, how they would react to certain marketing campaigns or certain kind of product deployments and things like that. So those kind of things, those kind of data sets are very important to have on hand. And like you mentioned, yeah, we learn about data sets all the time, where we're talking to a business function and they're like, well, we have this external data that we use from, XYZ company.
Yeah.
And, that's critical to our forecast or how we conduct our business processes. So we have to account for that and bring it in. What we do in the system, if you're kind of wondering from a system perspective, we try to segregate that, right? So this way we can reuse it, for other, use cases in the future.
What's it? So I guess two questions just to follow up on that. So one is, it sounds like, in what you were calling data literacy before, that, external data is probably lower maturity in terms of just people even understanding like, oh, I'm buying this data set. Like I should talk to my data and analytics team and understand, do we already have one? Do we already have 3? What's the best way to integrate it in? Like, is that a fair characterization?
Yeah, I would say so. I think, as the data literacy amongst the organization matures, I think that's where you're going to have a more precise acquisition of meaningful data, external data, as well as a better understanding of how to leverage the internal data in conjunction with the external data, right? Because a lot of times what we're seeing is, people are just, they hear of something, they want to go grab, buy a data set or what have you, or get a data set internally and take a tool set, a self-service tool set, and start, going at it. And really, you have dashboards and reports that are huge, consuming a lot of memory and all these kind of things where with the data literacy training and understanding it and maturity, that would be more precise.